say good morning to them. Ready?
Hello, my name is Becca Hobart. I'm a sophomore at PHS, and today I'm going to talk to you about my famous deaf person, Julia McAdams Hobart. Julia Hobart is most known for winning Miss Deaf Pennsylvania in 1995. Julia Hobart was born in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania in 1970. Julia's hearing loss was discovered when she was about 3 years old. In 1 year, she can use a hearing aid. Julia Hobart has a sister, Denise, who is also deaf. Julia Hobart appeared on The Mike Douglas Show in 1978. Julia was on the show because Julia taught her classmates how to sing the song, "You Light Up My Life." In 1980, Julia Hobart then moved to Williamstown, New Jersey. In 1986, Julia Hobart moved to Allentown. Julia Hobart graduated from Allen High in 1988. Julia Hobart went to Bloomsburg University. In 1995, she was asked to participate in Miss Deaf Pennsylvania competition. Julia Hobart won, but she did not want to compete on, so she let the runner-up complete farther. She then became a teacher for the deaf and hard of hearing in Parkland School District. She got married to Bill Hobart in 1998. Julia Hobart had 2 children, Becca and Evan Hobart.
They say yes.
Hello.
I want to introduce you to my mom, Julia Hobart.
I'm going to exchange places later.
Can we do lights now?
Yes, think, can we put the lights on?
For
Do you
like,
still need the screen or not?
Yeah, we can turn it off.
or if I like pass it around now, or like leave it here, but I brought the book from the pageant thing,
Oh,
so
wonderful.
if you want to, okay, all right, so there you go. And then, I don't even know if it's upside down, or if it's the right way. And then this is a DVD if you wanted to show it, because the Mike Douglas show on it and everything, so if you wanted to show that at some point in the future or whatever, it's up to you. Okay. All right. You want me to stand up here?
If you want.
Okay. Okay, thank you for having me here today. I appreciate that, and thank you to my beautiful daughter, Becca. So I appreciate you welcoming me into this classroom. I'm just going to give you a little bit of my background, and then if you have any like questions or anything, feel free to ask me. I'm just going to share a little bit now. When I was 3 years old, they found out that I was deaf. My parents found out. And then my sister, she was 2 at that time, and they found out that she was deaf. And I have what's called a severe hearing loss, and my sister is profoundly deaf. And so there are different levels. Have you talked about that in the past? Like that there are different levels of deafness? There's some that have like a mild hearing loss and some that have the profound hearing loss. And so we both needed hearing aids, and my parents decided, well, we're going to try to learn sign language because they were hearing. And they had never seen anyone that was deaf before. They knew nothing about it, and they decided, well, let's try learning some sign language. So they took my sister and I to Gallaudet University, and they learned some sign language, and they learned how to teach language to us. So if we went to the zoo for a family gathering together, they would say, okay, that's a bird, B-I-R-D. They would fingerspell. They would have us speak it. They would have us sign it. So they were making sure that we were getting everything so that we could pick up language. So nothing was just, oh, just have fun. It was more of like working all the time so that we could pick it up and learn language and have the best of both worlds, the hearing and the deaf world. So they gave us that gift of being able to do that. So then in the future, I decided, well, I want to be a role model for deaf children. So I decided to become a teacher for the deaf and hard of hearing. And I actually work for the IU. It's in Parkland School District, but I work for the IU 21. And these are 2 of my wonderful students that I had. And I was their mommy duck when I had them, because I have a little one, kindergarten to 5th grade. Of course I mentioned that. And I love the children, and I love being with them and teaching them and seeing them learn. And so that inspires me every day to keep going with them. And so that's why I do what I do. So that's my short little speech there. So now I'll open it up for any questions that you have.
Okay, questions?
And don't be afraid. I'm going to look at Alicia so that she can interpret for me what you're saying, so that I don't have to worry about trying to speech read or understand you, and you can go ahead and speak if you want and not worry as much about the sign language.
Okay,
Okay.
let's start with you, Darren. Ask any questions.
I don't have any. How was school when you were little?
What was it like? You know what? It was very difficult because at that time, when I went into kindergarten, I was the first child with what you would call a disability. I don't really think of myself as disabled, but that was the first time a child went into a public hearing school. And so I was definitely bullied, and I had, like wood chips thrown at me at recess, and they would call me names, and I don't know what they were saying because I was deaf, so, so lucky for me, I missed all the mean things they said, but that was happening until 2nd grade, and then in 2nd grade, I was going home and I was crying every day, and I was telling my mom, I'm alone, I have no friends, no one understands me, I don't understand them, and I hate going to school, and I hate being there because they just are not kind to me. And my mom said, you know what, I'm going to go into the classroom and I'm going to teach those kids sign language, and I'm going to help them understand how to communicate with you, that they need to make sure you're facing each other and that you can speech read. I'm going to help them understand you. And so my mom came into the classroom, she taught them sign language, and that's where the "You Light Up My Life" signs and why we sang that song on TV, because she taught them that, and then they accepted me, and things just kept improving, you know, from there on. So then I was able to have friends and have a better life, really. So it was a good question.
When did you become a teacher?
Oh, let's see, that was 1993. I'm old.
Question.
What made you want to do the Miss Pennsylvania contest?
Actually, I had a student at that time, and his mother said, and she was deaf as well, so he came from an all-deaf family, and she said, they're looking for someone to be Miss Deaf Lehigh Valley, and so would you be interested? I said, no, not really. And I said, but if they can't find someone else to do it, I'll do it. I have a hard time saying no sometimes. And so anyway, long story short, they said they couldn't find anyone else, so I became Miss Deaf Lehigh Valley. Then you go and you compete for Miss Deaf Pennsylvania. And so then and I was shocked that I won. And so then I decided I prefer to just focus on my job and my life and not be traveling all the time to give lectures. So I decided not to continue with it. So I did give it up to the runner-up.
How do you get discovered for the show, the Mike Polly show, or whatever it was?
Okay, that's a good question. What happened was after my mom had come into the classroom and taught the signs to the kids, we did an assembly for the whole school. And then one of the parents there had like friends that worked at, I think it was ABC Action News or whatever that is, that channel. So they came and they videotaped us, and then from there it spread. That we were on the Today Show, we were on the Mike Douglas Show, and Kids Candy Apple News, something like that. So it just kept going and going. Any other questions?
Were there teachers at Allen to help you, like, understand what other teachers were saying?
Really, no. I advocated for myself. I would go up and tell the teachers that I have a hearing loss, I need you to look at me, and if they would start looking at back then it was blackboards, so if they would look at that and not be looking so that I could speech read them, I would raise my hand and say, please repeat that. But I tried to be independent and do it myself. Now, looking back, I wish that I had had an interpreter because I didn't realize how much I was missing. Lucky that I had parents who would work with me at home and make sure that I was always caught up. But really, I could have picked up a lot more in the class if I had had an interpreter.
Were teachers accepting back then?
The teachers were pretty accepting. It was difficult for them to remember to do the things that I needed sometimes, but they were accepting in that they were not like snooty with me or like, but they definitely, had some difficulty sometimes remembering that they needed to be looking at me, things like that. So that's part of why I was like missing some things. That was a good question.
Do you want to continue working with the little children? Would you ever be interested in working here at the high school with the older children?
With the older deaf children, I actually have thought about not doing that, but doing like an ASL, like what you're doing kind of thing. That would be interesting to me. I've thought about that. But right now I'm very happy with the little children and focusing on helping them set up a foundation. But yeah, I have had thoughts of different avenues and doing different things. He's full of questions. That's good, I love it.
Can you lip read?
Yes, I can. I can speech read. And when it's one-on-one, I do very well. When it gets to be a bigger group like this, it becomes more difficult for me. And so I have to kind of like usually ask for an interpreter to help with that. Like I take a workshop where they teach you to improve your teaching skills. So many times I will request an interpreter for that because it's too much for me.
Did you ever get involved in sports?
Yeah, I played field hockey. I was not that good at it, but I did do it, yeah, for 4 years.
Did you have an interpreter with you as you were playing?
No. And that's what I mean that. These guys are lucky now because they can have that. And back then it was like less known that you could request those things. And so I was trying to do it myself. And I wish it had more options back then to pick that.
So at your graduation from high school, did you have an interpreter there with you? Did you understand the people that were showing up?
No. It's sad, but I got used to sitting and not knowing what people were saying. Like you kind of get used to like movies. I didn't know what was being said in movies. You just get used to, okay, I don't know what's going on, and just, smile. And so it was not until I became older that I realized how much I was missing because I got an interpreter. And so then I realized, wow, I was missing a lot. And now they have closed captions for the movies. So they have the glasses, or maybe you've seen like the handheld thing that has the words that are coming up. So that opened up a whole new world for me. And that's even more recent that started happening. So it's better now. It's so much, and technology just keeps improving. Like on the phone, that's very difficult for me. And now everybody texts now. I love it. I'm like, technology is my best friend. So it's wonderful. The world is really changing and improving every day.
So do you have video conferencing now that you use at your home?
No, I don't use that. I use mostly texting, but you can do Skype or FaceTime. So there's a lot of options.
So you do not connect with other deaf through the video conferencing?
No, most of my friends, and one of my BFFs is over in the other room, Becky, and so, yeah. And we prefer to text most of the time. We don't normally do the FaceTime.
Did you teach your kids sign language?
When they were babies, I did. When they were 6 months old, I was doing like more, all done, hungry. They picked it up, and they were able to sign before they were able to speak. And then they would learn like a few little signs, and both my nephews are deaf. My sister's 2 sons. So they picked it up to communicate with them as well. But to be really like fluent, you need to be using it all the time, every day.
What about your husband, does he know sign language?
Okay, well, yeah, I'm like, we're divorced, so, yeah, so but that's okay. And then, I met a wonderful man, on eHarmony. And so now we've been dating for 6 years, and we got engaged just this past summer. He's hearing, but he's a wonderful man. But he's not one that can really pick up sign language. Some people, they can't do it for some reason. Like you say, okay, this is the sign for mom, and they're like, mom. you see the same thing that I'm doing? Yeah, so he's kind of one of those people. But he makes sure that he talks very clearly. He's a coach, so he's used to speaking in a loud voice and looking at people. So I do well with the speech reading.
Do you have animals at your home that you teach them sign language? Do you have any?
No, I didn't teach my dogs. I have 2 toy poodles, and I didn't teach them sign language. But they help me know if someone's at the door, because many times I don't have my hearing aid in, just to relax at home in peace. So they will be like, and I like see them, and they're like, and so I'm like, oh, maybe someone's at the door, and I'll go down or out and go check the door, and there'll be someone that's standing there, and they were ringing the bell, and I had no idea. So it's kind of nice that they can help me with that.
So you do not have the light system of technology that turns the lights on?
I don't have the doorbell light system.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When,
Sorry.
go ahead.
When do you get your hearing aid?
I'm sorry, say that
When
again?
do you get your hearing aid?
Okay, well, when I was 3 years old, I started with what was called a box hearing aid, and it was actually here. It was like this huge, ugly thing, and it had wires that went up, and then the ear molds here, and I was always getting caught in them and everything. And then when I was 8 years old, they started the new technology that was stronger, that someone with a severe or profound hearing loss could use an actual behind the ear hearing aid. And so then we used them, and I've used that since.
When Becca was a baby, did you have the device under your pillow at night that made you wake up?
Yes, yes. And so I have, it's called a vibrator alarm, and it goes in your pillow, and it's about this big, and then it shakes you awake. And that's what I still use today. So, yeah. To wake up in the morning. You're such a quiet group.
When you're driving your car, if you see something, an emergency, do you keep the dogs with you to know that there is an emergency? Like they call them, they name them the hearing dogs for the deaf?
No, I'm not using a hearing dog for the deaf. But I will say that I am very proud of myself, because I usually notice the flashing lights in the mirror before the hearing people hear the sound. Like I see like the and I'm like, oh, get over, and nobody else is even getting over yet, and then they're realizing as it comes closer that they hear the sound. So a lot of deaf people are actually better drivers than hearing people.
What do you teach the little children?
Oh, that's a good question. I actually can teach everything, because some of them need math, some of them need language arts, some of them need only a little limited bit of time, and I just do some support with them. So it just depends on what their IEP and what their needs are. But I have kindergarten to 5th grade, so I need to know the curriculum for all of them.
Was it difficult to learn to speak?
Absolutely, and that's a good question. It was definitely very difficult. And most people with my hearing loss do not speak as well as I do. It sounds so like I'm bragging, but but it's just my parents really worked with my sister and I. Like if we were at dinner, we had to tell them 2 things that happened that day. We were not allowed to leave the dinner table until we said that. So they were always making us speak and using sign language and using everything so that we would improve. So at that, we were really working hard. So yes, growing up it was difficult and I was like, oh, leave me alone. I just want to enjoy my dinner. But I had to do it, and later I appreciate it and I realized how much work they did to help us.
How did they teach you to voice? What did they do?
Well, there's a lot of different little like tricks and things. Like for my worst sounds are the S and the S and the CH and the SH. And so it was just practice again and again with them, with a mirror, with holding your hand on your throat, and just practicing with them over and over those different sounds. And by the time I got to around 8th grade, I didn't need to go to formal speech class anymore. I did well enough. And she said, just keep up the practice yourself, you know, individually yourself, and I did, and I'm okay. I know some people say you have a little bit of an accent, or they ask what country I came from, and you know, but I accept that because I'm just happy that I can speak well enough that people understand me.
Is your sister, is it hard for her to like learn because she's proud of?
Yes, absolutely. And my sister, it was interesting because it was more difficult for her to pick up the speech, but she did not sign until her boys were born. She learned a few signs, but she hated getting the looks because she said, I work so hard on my speech to look and be normal. So I don't want to sign. I don't want people in a restaurant looking at me and seeing me sign. And I had no problem with that. Like I wanted to sign so, you know, that we understood each other, but she had that like embarrassment and it was hard for her. So she didn't pick it up until later, like do more of it until later.
Can you hear anything without your hearing aid on?
If I have my hearing aid on, I could probably hear, partly feel like a door slam. But other than that, like speech, no. So like Becca gets kind of annoyed if I don't have my hearing aid on because I missed everything, and so you know we have to wait until I get my hearing aid on, or she has to sign. So. Well, let me ask you a question. Have you been learning a lot about deafness, and are you guys planning in the future to tell others about that and educate others? Okay, I see some yeses, because that's my hope, is that for the future, for deaf children, that it just gets easier and easier and they never have to experience what I did when I was younger, and that you will help educate the world about sign language, about deafness. That would be wonderful.
And my hope is that they will communicate with the deaf that are right here now
Mm-hmm.
in the school, sit with them and talk with them, and enjoy communication together.
Absolutely. I'm sure that anyone in the deaf hard of hearing class would appreciate that. And it's okay if you're kind of awkward at first. We understand. We just appreciate your effort and trying, so that it's better than nothing, and it opens up that door, that window to, you know, being able to communicate with anyone.
Did every person get to see that booklet that she's been passing around?
I think it's-
Everybody get to see it?
So, if you want to keep it, that's fine with me, and then you could just send it home with Becca, like if it's, you know, next week or whatever. It's
Okay,
up to you.
because we have, what, is it 4 minutes left?
Yeah.
We have 4 minutes. And so maybe if we can keep it for tomorrow, and then I can give it to her, because we have one half of the class that's seen it, and the other half can see it tomorrow.
Okay, and then the DVD, the same thing.
Yeah,
You
same
can keep
thing.
that for a
Thank you.
while, that's fine.
Thank you for sharing that with us.
You're
I
welcome.
appreciate that so very much.
Oh, sure, you're welcome.
Can we say thank you
All right.
for her
Thank
coming?
you. Thank you for being a wonderful audience.
I appreciate you coming so much.
Oh, absolutely. I'm happy to be here. Okay.